We're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, but today we are continuing the nightmares as we are going into August in the Asylum as a theme. But who do I have as a host here that will tell us what this film is all about?
Not it.
Well,
I guess that will be me.
No,
Go
no,
for it.
Me.
I was kidding.
oh boy.
So, welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. As we are excited about this third film directed by Chuck Russell, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
The Blob,
Dream
ew.
Warriors.
The Dream Warriors.
You have to do it
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
So,
Although you do sing almost better than Dawkins.
Oh, thank you.
this film was filmed in 1987.
Released in '87. Filmed in
And
86.
let me just tell you what IMDb says about this film. Psychiatrist familiar with knife wielding, dream demon Freddie Krueger helps teens at a mental hospital battle the killer who is invading their dreams.
That's an unfair
Mhm.
description. She's only an intern.
Right.
And she's none other than Nancy Thompson, the hero of the first movie.
Indeed.
With a story by Wes Craven and by Bruce Wagner and Frank Darabont.
Yes.
Yes,
First,
the Frank Darabont, who would
this is his
Legendary
first
Frank Darabont.
credited feature, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
would
Wow.
go on to achieve great success with The Shawshank
Oh, yeah.
Redemption and The Green Mile and The Mist.
Starring
and all
Heather
the
Lang,
Stephen King stuff.
starring Heather Langenkamp as Nancy Thompson, Robert Englund as Freddie Krueger, Craig Wesson as Neil Gordon, and Patricia Arquette is introduced as Christine Parker.
Her first role, her first movie role, and also
Yeah.
John returning from the first movie is John Saxon as Donald Thompson.
Definitely.
But not John Cena.
And a much younger Larry Fishburne.
Lawrence
in
Fishburne.
this one. Yes.
Yep.
And
So-
directed by Chuck Russell, who would later
Yep.
go on to direct The Mask and The
Mask,
Scorpion
which
King.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about first impressions here. So, I'm whereas Forrest on our pre-show went to his right, I'm going to go to my left and start with you, Brandon. What was your first impression of this film? Was this a first-time watch for you?
It's not a first time watch. It's kind of weird with this one because I'm much more familiar with its sequel, which kind of directly follows this with some of the characters. But which is because that's the one that they always played on TV. But this one I had seen bits and pieces of here and there, and of course, when I got my my Freddie 2 4-packs that had all the movies on it, I had to get at it. I had to just go ahead and watch them all and confront my fears because the fourth movie I had had some fears about when I first saw it. Like that roach scene in the fourth movie just disturbed me that much. But keep in mind I was young at the time. So the third, but when I got to the third movie, actually none of the movies had disturbed me as much as that fourth movie did for some reason. But the third movie actually was entertaining, and I remember watching it again with Kim years later, and we both laughed together. It was one of the first iterations of what's considered modern day Freddy Krueger. The Freddy Krueger who has all the quippiness, the Freddy Krueger that's always like got a joke here. And also I feel like this is the one that started to get really super creative on the nightmare sequences. They were creative in the first one and the second one, but I really feel like the creativity took a new height in this film going forward. It just they really did do a good job with that.
Okay. Let's go down and over to you, Dustin. Was this a first time watch for you, and what was your first impression of
Oh
this
no,
film?
I've seen this movie a good number of times. I think this might be my favorite Elm Street, just because it kind of checks all the boxes for what you want out of an Elm Street movie, or at least what you expect an Elm Street movie to be like in your head. Like it's got inventive like dream sequences. It's got a lot of kills. It's got Freddie, being Freddie as you know him, talking a lot and cracking the jokes. I first saw this again, like I said on our Elm Street 2 episode, in a grinding session. I guess they call it binging now, huh? In a binge session where I just watched like all the Elm Street movies over the course of one night while working on a paper, and I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to them. So I don't really remember much from my first watch of this. When I know I keep going to Dead by Daylight a lot, but when Freddie came to Dead by Daylight, I bought the box set and rewatched everything. And I remember being a little surprised by how good this movie was from my memory, because I knew I had seen it before, but I was like, wow, how did I not remember this? So I have a very positive opinion of this movie, and like I said, I think it is my favorite Elm Street. So it's great, and looking forward to getting into it further.
Actually, I
Alrighty.
have one other thing to add on
Yeah.
top of that.
Okay.
Whereas I said something about last time where where the second movie reminded me of Halloween 3, this one actually kind of gives me the same type of vibes as to how a lot of people feel about Friday the 13th Part 6, where the rest of the movies are really good, but that's the one that really
Stands
starts
out.
giving you that this is what Friday the 13th is supposed to be. And that's how I look at for the 3. This is what A Nightmare on Elm Street is supposed to be.
I agree
Sorry.
with that. That's a good analysis, I think.
Okay. Going over to you, Roger. Was this a first time watch for you? And what was your first impression of this film?
Well, kind of like surprise-like, but I've seen snippets of this show just like I did with the second movie. But this is my first time I actually sat down and watched it all the way through. Of course, I was a bit emboldened because I was understanding that 3 was a bit more lighthearted. So I did watch the show, and I was surprised that it was really. I thought the special effects were well done. I wasn't scared at all throughout the movie. I wasn't scared at all, so I had a lot more fun. Freddie looked like he had a lot more quippier little words about how you're going to die this time, young kid, and I'm going to do this to you. And interesting way, it's almost like it was like there was like an episodic kind of movie where he decided to kill each kid in a different way, and he has an intimate way to take care of each kid. So it's kind of like episodic to me in a way. But again, by the end of the film, I was satisfied. I don't think I would have regretted watching it, and I guess I might even go ahead and watch 4.
Okay. How about you, Jake? Was this a first time watch for you, and what was your first impression of this film?
This was definitely a first time watch. I cannot swear to it that the later films in this series, this one on, up through the series proper, not counting, Freddie v. Jason, which we've done, of course, with this group. I can't swear that I've never seen portions of them, but I don't really feel like I could claim to have seen them either. So this was basically a first watch, and it certainly didn't feel all that familiar to me. It didn't feel like one that I'd seen before. And generally, I kind of liked it. I will agree that it was Freddie was definitely a little more of a smart ass here than he, and I believe this is the first one where they actually call him Freddie. That may have been part of the move towards making him a little more wisecracking and whatever, you know. He does have some good one-liners in this one. You know, definitely has a few. I liked the return of Nancy. I was a little disappointed that at what I felt was an underwhelming utilization of the character, but and her old man wasn't quite as much of a dick in this one. He had a little more nuance, which was nice. I kind of liked a lot of the new characters, and I really liked. What's that?
A little bit of a drinking problem. Huh?
Just a little bit, just a little. But and I will say overall, you know, I can get into some of the details we go on of different things, but one thing that did catch my attention that amused me quite a bit was the, for lack of a better way of putting it, the Jason and the Argonauts Clash of the Titans effects that they used at a couple of points. I found that kind of amusing too. So yeah.
No stop motion thing? Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Going over to Dane, why don't you tell us, was this a first time watch for you, and what was your first impression of this film?
I've seen this film before. I agree with what Brandon said that, you know, with this series, with Friday the 13th especially, is this way. And you could even say with James Bond as well, like the series, as they go along, they kind of find their groove, and they eventually come across that one entry that kind of defines what an entry in this series should be like, or, you know, that we come to expect it to be like in its fully realized form. And I feel like with James Bond, that one is typically Goldfinger, and then like the classic series, and then with Nightmare on Elm Street, it's this one. Friday the 13th, it's part 6. You know, and they're usually the ones you can kind of take out of the rest of the series and be like, yeah, this is it. You know, this is the best of the bunch. And I would argue that this is probably the objective best Friday the 13th, the objective best Nightmare on Elm Street entry. I think partially because, well, it's got visual imagination, it's got, you know, humor, it's got protagonist from the first one coming back, it's got you know, it's got a pretty good script, and obviously some memorable one-liners and moments and things like that. But I just like that the whole thing is about these kids, you know, taking the weapons, you know, that they're learning how to use in the dream world. They're, you know, turning what was Freddie's territory, and they're turning it back around on him in order to be proactive. And it's like, again, yeah, you don't that's something that Friday the 13th didn't do anywhere near as much, because I think I'm in the camp between the two of them. I'm definitely in the Freddie camp because he's a far more interesting character. He's more powerful in the dream world, and I just think the characters are more interesting. There's more different layers to everything, particularly with the fact that they can take this world where anything can happen, but it's ordinary people learning how to harness it against the ultimate subconscious terror. And I think that's a good bit of proactivity that you don't normally see with slashers.
Okay. Going over to you, Forrest, was this a first time watch for you? And what are your first impressions of this particular?
Oh, absolutely not. I have seen this one so many times. The first time I saw it, I saw it was on cable. Was on, like, I want to say like Showtime or HBO when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. This is kind of like really where agree with a lot with what everyone else has said. This is very much where the kind of the franchise found its footing, and it's kind of like overall it's kind of like much like, you know, I would say like Jason Lives, or even Friday the 13th, the final chapter, or even going outside of the horror genre, let's say Rambo First Blood Part 2 or Terminator 2, this is kind of where the franchise, where it's what pop culture defined as Freddy Krueger, as Nightmare on Elm Street, or what came to be known as in pop culture. I definitely think it's definitely got that balance of, Freddy's still scary in this one, but now it's like he's able to balance it between like being scary and funny, and all the characters. I would say all the characters in this one are very all the characters in this one are likable. And yeah, it's definitely the dream sequences are very imaginative. The kills are pretty great. The kills are pretty imaginative. And oh god, don't even get me started on the theme song by Dawkins. Oh man,
that is a sweet song though.
And sweet guitar solo too. It's in regular rotation on my iTunes playlist.
It's a sweet guitar ballad.
It's an all-out rock bang. It's an all-out rocker.
Oh yeah.
You also have to appreciate the fact that I do think the caliber of talent in front of and behind the camera, for the Nightmare on Elm Street series in particular, especially in comparison to the 13th, not to take anything away from those people, but it's like you can see there's another tier of quality with the people that they get, even in their early stages. Just the potential that everybody shows, like Patricia Arquette,
like Lawrence Fishburne,
and like
Frank
again,
Darabont.
and Chuck Russell's a great choice for this kind of thing because, as we later learn in his later filmography, like The Mask, like The Scorpion King, he's got visual imagination, he's got a sense of fun
and style.
And style. And Frank Darabont, obviously you got him on the script and you're in good hands.
I think also because this movie, along with the original and New Nightmare, are my favorites. I think for me they're the Wes Craven it's the Wes Craven trilogy of the franchise. He had a hand in the story on this one, and I also like a lot of with this one they really expand upon the mythology and world building.
Oh yeah, I agree. This was not a first time watch for myself. I've definitely marathoned this with others, but as far as 80s music to horror films go, this is the one that I remember the most out of the 80s hair bands and slasher films. Dokken. It was pretty hot and heavy at the time, and I know you people who are like straight Dokken fans, so it's like
it really made me a Dokken fan.
So to me, that was a strong song for the film and kind of like its swan song.
Have you guys actually seen the video for that?
Yeah.
It has one of my favorite Freddie lines in it, which most people don't even know about, I don't think. But Dokken shows up and basically rocks Freddie away, and at the end of the video, at the end of the video, Freddie wakes up. Who were those guys?
Freddie wakes up. He's like, "What a nightmare!" He wakes up. He's like, he screams, and he's like, "What a nightmare!" Who were those guys?
In any case, my first impression of this film is it's not that it was scary. It was more entertaining to me, and the characters in this film were rather likable. You got the impression that there was a lot of chemistry with the people on set. And it just worked really well for the time frame, and it was cool to see a return cast member, and along with Freddie, and what ways that they could deal with the Dream universe and pretty much have like a kick-ass like team put together of these kids, you know. But in any case, the plot line of this takes us a year after the events of the first film, just so you know, and basically starts out with Patricia Arquette's character, Kristen Parker, and she is chased by a disfigured man wearing a bladed leather glove. He then attacks her in the bathroom, and after she thinks she's already woken up, and I guess they make it look like she slit her wrist in the real world. What do you think about that very beginning scene here?
I think Freddie's always been good about manipulating people, and this really kind of, to me, it feels like more of a return to the old style that they had been doing in the first movie by having it being in a dream. I also like the whole first part where they do the paper mache. I mean, I have an aversion to paper mache work because I do not like the feel of it, but I still say that it's really kind of cool with her building the house.
Yep.
From the first film, and then adding on top of it that whole Freddie thing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Eating coffee grounds and drinking Diet Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Diet Coke didn't exactly have much caffeine.
I used to do that.
Coffee grounds, the 1-2 punch.
I used to do that, but I used to do Pixie Sticks and Mountain Dew.
Oh,
Nice.
Oh, that was unhealthy as hell.
Diabetes.
Well, you know, when
Yes,
you're a
diabetes.
teenager and you're trying to do an all-night D&D campaign, that's what you go to. 2-liter of Mountain Dew, one of the giant Pixie Sticks. You mix that stuff together. It doesn't taste the best, but darned if it doesn't keep you up all night. And when you're a teen, your body can take some of the nastiest stuff, like
True.
Diet Coke and instant coffee combined.
Yeah.
So, but we also have the entrance of her mother, who seems to be this very bossy like woman, who seems to be in her life just to be her like living hell on her own.
That's a kind way to put it.
Well, pretty much one of Freddie's helping hands to get the kid in the bed so he can.
By the way,
wow, all the assholes are always assholes in these films.
By the way, I
Yes,
just wanted to make point a little bit of trivia about the actress playing Kristen's mother, Brooke Bundy. Her daughter, so she's in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 as a mother character. In real life, her daughter Tiffany played Violet, the goth girl in Friday the 13th Part 5.
Okay,
The dancing goth girl. Yeah.
interesting connection to the world of serial slashers.
Francis, yep. Well, long before Freddie was Jason too.
Oh yeah. So we have the entrance of her mother, and she basically witnesses the slitting of her wrists, and to us, she's got a razor in her hand, so she thinks she's suicidal. So she basically admits her to Weston Hills Psychiatric Hospital, where she is then placed under the good and rightly care of Dr. Neil Gordon.
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah.
What do we think about Neil Gordon as a character?
I don't know. He looks. He reminds
He's a good doctor.
He looks like Bill Maher. Bill Maher wasn't a douchebag.
Kind
He
of
doesn't
like
look
Yeah,
that
could
much
be.
like Bill Maher.
it's kind of like Bill Maher had a love child with Judge Reinhold.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
that's actually really good. I like that.
Yeah, Judge Reinhold. Yeah, but his head comes to a point. Anyways.
But did Judge Reinhold come up with Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death? Oh, there we go.
That's the two
And
doctors. You get the male doctor and you had the female doctor. They're basically like the foil of each other because the girl doctor was completely evil, did a terrible evil Freddie's puppet, and the guy's supposed to be the helping hand, helpful kind of doctor.
I would say
So there had to be a
I'm
I'm not
difference.
sure.
She was just kind of, your typical no nonsense, by the book, authoritarian.
Looks like Kim's
Right.
here to join us.
All right.
Hi, boys.
Alrighty.
Hello.
Hey.
Did you have
Well-
a first impression for the film?
Oh my god, yes. My okay, so for anyone who does not know, my brothers are much older than me. They were teenagers actually when I was born. So when we saw this movie, my oldest brother, not the half brother, but my oldest quote unquote full brother, he saw it before me, and the line that made him go, "What the fuck?" It was that when the mom was like, actually, it was the fourth movie. He's like, "Underlay." She
Oh,
was
she's
like,
in this one
"I
too.
thought that bitch was dead," because it was the line of, "Bitch, where's the fucking bourbon?"
Yes.
Because like everyone
The
else, we
bourbon.
hated Kirsten's
I
mother.
said, "Where's the fucking bourbon?"
Yeah, exactly. We all hated her mom because it's like, actually, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of identify with Kirsten's emotional character because at the time I felt like, well, my mother is kind of uncaring and she's sort of not understanding, and the mom's like, she just wants attention. I'm like, okay, yep, that's my mother right now. She wants to go back to her lazy luncheon shit, her pottery class or whatever, and stick me somewhere else. Like, okay, let y'all deal with her problems. And so I did kind of identify with the Patricia Arquette character, except for the fact she was super whiny, and I was like, okay, bitch, it's not that serious. Stop fucking whining. And of course, Nancy. That was my hero. I wanted to be Heather Langenkamp. I'm not gonna lie. I loved her.
She was
I still love
Rogue before Rogue was a thing because she had that styling gray hair.
Oh my god, yes! Yes. And
I think if you had made an X-Men movie in the 80s, she'd have been a perfect Rogue.
yeah, well, if it was like that in the 80s, we'll think about it. Yeah. So that was my first impressions. I loved the black guy, Kincaid.
Yes.
Lawrence
Yes.
Fishburne.
No.
That's
No,
different.
Lawrence Fishburne was a nurse.
Yeah.
An orderly, yeah.
/ nurse.
Yeah.
Kincaid was the dark-skinned black kid.
Yeah, Ken
Okay.
Sager, that's the actor's name.
The hot-blooded individual. There.
He reminded me of the kid who played in Galaxy Quest a little bit. But I know that it wasn't him. It just in facial features.
So I'm gonna ask you guys because I'm the only girl here, but I want to ask you guys, woman, female, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So did y'all ever notice in the movie? Because I noticed this as a kid when I saw it when I was like 7 or 8 years old, that the adults, with the exception of Nancy, none of the fucking adults ever listen to the kid. It's all your mind.
Nope.
It's all your dreams, and I'm sure that's part of the movie. But even the ones who were sympathetic to them were still like holding out, like Lawrence Fishburne's character, the nurse, the orderly. He was like, they were still holding out. They fucking knew some shit was going down, and they still all held out. What the fuck
had
was that
nurse.
about?
I remember Jacob had made this reference to the second movie when I had made the statement while watching the third movie, is that it's interesting. All these kids seem to be dying when they go to sleep. You know what these kids need? Sleep.
They can't put 2 and 2 together.
Well,
Yeah.
obvious.
Be oblivious to everybody. That's what's going on.
Obviously part of their imagination. And the boogeyman is just a made-up thing. They're all
it's
crazy.
the Harry Potter effect. I mean, if you think about, Harry Potter was after this, but it's the Harry Potter effect. The adults don't know anything. It's the kids who know everything.
well, that's a different
It was
example because
actually
this is more extreme. This is more like
Yeah.
with the Harry
Harry
Potter
Potter,
world. They would
it was the
they would
Muggles.
listen.
The Muggles were
Well,
I don't know. The teachers
No,
are pretty
no, no,
ignorant
no.
too.
No, in there was more of a continuum. There were people who were willfully ignorant, but there were also people who were very supportive from behind the scenes. And a lot of the series was finding which ones those were. In this series, it's more like they're all willfully ignorant. I mean, they're just
Well, there's a few.
they basically look at you and go, "You're kids. You're stupid. We know what's up." You know.
like I said before, Keystone
I
parents.
wouldn't say that having I don't know how many of y'all have been there, but having actually been there as a child that was, oh God, this is gonna sound horrible, but as a child that suffered from extreme night terrors as a young child, and then even later as a teenager, having adults, oh, it's all in your head, it's all whatever. Like again, they think they know better, and later on in later Friday the 13th movies, the adults, they were like in denial, like, oh, you don't speak his name. Again, it was always about the kids. It was like a child. If they dream about him, that's the crux of Freddie. If they dream about him and they think about him, he will come for them. But the adults were like, no. Don't give him power. That's all your mind. It's all your head or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
We burned his ass.
I feel like this was a window through the world of what it was like to be a teenager.
Yeah.
You know,
a teenager. No, Dave. A teenager with mental illness.
Yes.
Yes, in the 80s, by the way.
Right.
Which means that everybody thinks that you're crazy, no matter what.
And again, this is kind of like, though, some of these kids, this is not unlike what we talked about with Cuckoo's Nest, where some of these people probably would not be institutionalized today, but at the time they would have been. Like, you know, the girl who is a recovering drug addict, and then you had the kid
her
who
ass would have been institutionalized. Sorry.
What's that?
Yeah.
The girl was a drug addict. She was
not for the length of time, probably.
Not for that length of time. They kind of hinted that she was clean.
Sorry, I don't know the.
I got the impression that like she would have been moved on to something less intensive by this point. The kid who basically is mute. You know, would you really institutionalize someone for that?
Yeah.
I mean,
actually,
okay.
Kids, I was kind of confused about. I'm going to be honest. Like, even as a child myself, like, okay, so Kirsten, she tried to kill herself. Kincaid, he had an anger management problem.
Right.
Joey, he wouldn't speak. But the rest of the kids, like the one who got killed with the TV, she smoked. She clearly had a self-injury problem. But like the kid who got killed with the puppeteers, the one who was paralyzed, the drug addict girl. Okay, so you send her through detox, you send her to a halfway house, whatever.
Right.
But in the mental ward, I was like, I'm not really sure about that.
The one in the wheelchair did attempt to kill himself, which was why he
was paralyzed.
He wasn't paralyzed until he took a dive off to kill himself. It was a failed suicide attempt that resulted in him losing the use of his legs.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's when they're in the group. They actually stated to where he's like, they're like, yeah, when I lost, I was like, yeah, because you took a dive off of a cliff until
My point is, and I guess Brandon, you're probably in a better.
Said that to him.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess Brandon, you're probably in a better position to comment on these than I am. It seemed to me like most of these kids probably could have had outpatient therapy or been part of a group or even just seeing a therapist in today's world.
They could have had some better therapy people behind them.
Well, they certainly could have, because this the head doctor is kind of cut from the same cloth as Ratchet in a lot of ways. She's, as you guys said, by the book, but very authoritative, even when something is looking her right in the face that clearly is not by the book.
Someone who has
You
been
know.
institutionalized like myself, if those of you who do not know that I have. And my
Me
parents
too,
would
Dave. Me too.
My parents would use it more than they would take me to therapy, and I was in Rogers Memorial for like 6 or 7 times, just because my parents didn't know how to deal with everything. Regardless, that head nurse lady reminded me of some of the people in charge of these places that I was at, and they would never believe you for a damn thing. So it would take you months to get out of the place.
Well, actually, Dave, I'll give you an example. When I would, okay, so last time I was in a place, I was told that you need to go to rest, Kimberly. You know, you need to rest. It was because of a suicide attempt. I was depressed, and because of my severe eating disorder, my bulimia, I got put in the local mental health ward, and it was not conducive to my depression, my suicidal ideation, definitely not my eating disorder. But while I was there, I was put with people that were fucking very mentally unwell. One person in particular who decided to fixate on me, and I would come out of the shower in my room, and he would be standing there. I'm like, can y'all come get this motherfucker? They were like, oh, Kim, you need to be understanding. He's not well. I'm like, can you come get him? I don't want an audience. I'm not used to that at home. And then I'd be in my bed. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and then there comes Crazy Pants. He's standing over my bed. The worst part was when he had actually crawled into my bed and started to maneuver himself, trying to facilitate a sexual act with me. And I was like, what the fuck? And I screamed. My roommate, who was paralyzed, just like in the movie, but she was paralyzed because of MS or whatever, but she was also suicidal. She was an older white woman. She started screaming. Everyone comes running, and he's just like, what? I was just trying to make sure she was okay. I'm like, motherfucker, no, you weren't. And they were like, well, he doesn't know no better, because he was pretending to be stupid or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I clearly don't belong here, so I don't care that I try to kill myself, but this ain't right. And they were like, Kim, you're being dramatic. And of course my roommate was like, no, she's not. Like, he's being shush. You try to kill yourself too. So I felt like in that moment, because I tried to kill myself, my roommate, because she tried to kill herself, neither of us were taken seriously. Despite the fact that I had this guy who was pretending to be whatever, and tried to rape me in a place that I was told that I was supposed to get better. And I was told by these so-called nurses or doctors, whatever, to protect me, that I was being dramatic. And even the next day when the actual doctor showed up, and actually Brandon, my husband, he knows about one of these doctors, because when I had a chance to speak to him, I was like, Dr. Delaney, yes, motherfucker, I'm calling you out on air. Fucking rotten hell, and in the goddamn prison system, you motherfucker.
He got robbed. He got his.
Fuck him. I said, Dr. Rainey, I almost got raped last night. He said, Kim, or actually called me my full legal name. He's like, Kimberly, I think that you are being dramatic. I was like, wait, why are y'all using that same word again? I was like, dramatic is one thing. I was suicidal, but last night I dead ass almost got raped because you don't want to be here. I'm like, no one wants to be here, nigga. Like, seriously. Like, what the fuck?
I feel like I've lost track of the plot.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what the fuck, dude? And he didn't believe me. And I had to go back into that room that same night with a man who was clearly trying to rape me. And when I watched this movie all these years ago, I was like, no one's taking these kids seriously.
No.
And when I went to the hospital myself, I was like, oh, this is just a movie. To this day, ask Brandon. I did not. I refuse still to watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest because, and he was like, "Hey, babe, it's our movie this week." I was like, "No, no," because I've been there 4 fucking times, and Brandon, I've seen 2 and 3 Nightmares I've seen before. He watched both these movies. I said, you know what? I love you, but I won't watch them. I've watched them before. I'm not going to watch them again because I have seen them many times before. And with my recent 15 and a half years, I have lived this. And it frustrated the shit out of me watching the third one because I know how these kids feel. And it's fucking pissing me off. No one listens to them except for Nancy. And that's only because everyone's like, she's fucking crazy. And then of course the one doctor, the only reason they said that, well, he listens to Nancy because he has the fucking hots for her.
Yeah.
Even her drunk ass daddy doesn't fucking listen to her.
And he's
Also,
so
keep in mind, it wasn't until the 2000s that teenagers had any say over whether they could be hospitalized or not. Anybody under the age of 18 prior to I can't remember what year it was, but definitely during this time, anybody under the age of 18, if a parent wanted to, they could hospitalize them for any reason.
So I'm sorry, not to be a bitch. Someone put your shit on vibrate.
Or on silent.
But yeah,
anyways.
Anybody could hospitalize for any reason back in those days. If you were a kid, a parent could just check you in.
Yep.
This kid is mouthing off to me. Hospitalize him.
Yep. He's looking at me funny. Hospitalize him. It's crazy.
Isn't that basically the plot of Sucker Punch?
Actually, this kind of makes me wonder if Halloween took place, if the beginning of Halloween had taken place now, would Michael Myers have a say in whether or not he'd be sent to Smith's Grove, or would he still be?
He stabbed.
Oh, he killed. Yes, he killed a bunch of people.
No.
There's no choice in that.
When he first murders his sister as a 6-year-old.
Yeah, he would not. Trust me. He would have been. He would have been taken into custody by the police, and same stuff would have happened to him. He might not have been institutionalized for life, but if he was still and they still thought this guy is still a threat, they'd have kept him in there almost indefinitely. Even today.
In any case, we meet Dr. Neil Gordon and Nancy Thompson, a little maybe a little older. Not much.
Neil is kind of cute. Nancy's obviously maybe 25 years old, maybe.
And Neil Gordon is kind of like the therapy group session doctor that is for this group of children that all seem to be having nightmares about the same man. And when Kirsten first comes to the hospital, she's fighting against the orderlies, including Lawrence Fishburne's character, because they are trying to sedate her, and she doesn't want to see Freddie, So Nancy comes in and calms her down, and she starts to trust her because she starts to sing Freddie's nursery rhyme.
Well, keep in mind that according to lore, Kirsten's mom was a part of the band of parents that killed Freddie, which you find out in the fourth film.
And we also learn a little bit later that all of these kids who are having these nightmares are the last surviving kids of Elm Street.
Right.
So, of course, they have a connection that way, and it's just crazy how things start to happen. I mean, you've got dreams of puppetry going on by one of the first kids who seems to think the whole group sessions are bullshit, And just the kids start to die, and they start to die under Neil Gordon's care, which kind of eventually gets the tables turned on him, because he makes a rash decision about giving them a pill that is very experimental
to stop them dreaming.
Yep.
This is the first time Hypnosil has been mentioned in the series, but not nearly the last time, because it's actually a staple in the series.
Yep.
So it's kind of cool.
Freddy versus Jason.
Yep.
It even goes into the remake too, because again, going back to Dead by Daylight, killers can have add-ons, which are like items that were important to them, and one of Freddy's add-ons is a Hypnosil bottle.
Actually, I remember the first time I saw this movie, and they were like, "We're gonna give this pill to stop them from dreaming." At the time when I first saw this movie, is that it was after we moved up here to Virginia, and it was after my dad died, and I was having these horrible. I told this Brandon and Jacob about this, like these horrible nightmares where I was dreaming about my dad. And my dad died when I was 6, and it was after I saw the first Phantasm movie. And so, of course, when he died, I equated, because he was the first one I ever knew that died, visiting the funeral home and looking at that, like, okay, Phantasm with the little midgets and the tall man and the little, like, silver balls. Yeah. So, to this day, I'm 40 fucking years old. As of last week, I'm 40 years old, and I still cannot watch Phantasm. And I have a reoccurring nightmare since I was 6 years old of my dad coming back as one of those little midgets, these evil midgets from Phantasm.
Oh no!
And so, it's been happening like reoccurringly since I was a kid, and it actually happened again this past weekend. But whatever. I talked about it with my husband and our friends. But so one of the things that I was like, okay, this is some fucked up shit. So I remember like watching the movie. I was like, okay, so the adults don't like you seriously. They don't want to like look at what you're doing, what you're going. They're like, well, it's all in your head.
Does anybody think that this would be a psychiatric hospital that they'd love to like be a patient in?
No, definitely.
No. Are you kidding me? What kind of question is that?
That'd be one that'd be a good one to stage a haunted horror retreat if you wanted to. But especially with the way that they have those old buildings.
I mean, they could set it up like the Holocaust Museum, where you could be a past patient.
Actually, though, Central State is a good example here, and Virginia has one.
Wait, sorry, the Holocaust Museum in Virginia?
Yes.
Virginia has a psych hospital that's like that.
Okay,
Central State Hospital.
Who's beeping?
That's not me.
Not me.
Who?
I don't know.
Who's beeping?
Freddie.
I
heard it.
Anyways, let's move on. That being said, the hypno drug is hypno pill is I'll just call it that.
Right.
Is introduced, but there's obviously a strong bond between Nancy Thompson and Kirsten, especially since it's kind of introduced kind of like a dream psychokinesis between them, because when they both like end up like falling asleep, I guess she gets pulled into her dream, or vice versa, and she's able to wake Kirsten up and get out of Freddie's grip that first night.
She explained that she used to do that with her dad, that she would pull her dad into her dreams. And so she was somehow, because she trusted Nancy, changing for some reason, but she pulled
Nursery
Nancy. Yeah, exactly. She pulled Nancy in her dreams, and she's like, "Ah, I used to my dad. My dad would make me feel better in my dreams. I would pull in my dreams before he died." And I was like, "Oh, how sweet." Okay, so
So I guess
why
she has
her?
daddy dreams, which makes you wonder what kind of relationship she had with her daddy.
Well, obviously her dad was nice to her compared to her bitch of a mother.
Might have been.
Andale.
Well, maybe she was a little bit more of a daddy's girl.
Or her mother's just a fucking bitch.
Anyways,
Just saying.
Well, we all just needed that bourbon. That was all we needed at the end.
What did y'all think about the rest of the patients?
There were other patients.
Yeah, there were other patients.
Okay, stop it.
There were other patients. There was
yeah,
Kincaid. There was Joey. There was Taryn.
Taryn.
There was
Oh,
Philip.
you're talking about the group. I thought you were talking about like other patients besides the main group of kids.
Warriors.
No.
And I was like, what?
No.
Oh, okay, so they
What do we care about?
and so they were there to. They were. Oh shit. Okay, so the Puppeteer Kid, he was there for Industrial Light and Magic CGI shit.
Yeah.
That was just freaking wicked ass shit. I mean, they pulled his tendons out from all of his arms and legs. It was like,
yeah,
that scene was that bothered me.
now that my fiance has had like surgery on her legs and shit, when I see that shit, it's like
Painful.
yeah.
Actually, I can say this. When I was younger, the first time I cut my wrist open and I saw one of those fucking things, I was like, "Oh, it's like in Friday the 13th Part 3. Oh, cool. Oh, that's not so cool. I'm feeling a little dizzy right now." I was like, woke up like, "Oh shit, I'm bandaged up right now." Yeah, but that scene was pretty fucked up. I was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?"
I don't know why I was just thinking about this, but
I was fascinated by shit.
but when Taryn and some of the rest of the group ended up going into the dream world, when Taryn was attacked by Freddie, and he stuck all those needles inside of
What
her.
a rush.
He said, "What a rush," which was the same line that Darian said in The Mask, which was, which I wonder, I wonder if Chuck Russell took that and
Chuck
played
Russell
it.
probably did,
Possibly.
actually.
And they're both made by New Line Cinema, so
So I just thought that was kind of interesting. How once Dorian put the mask on, he was like, "What a rush!"
I mean, you've got some connections. You got Chuck Russell.
Maybe you might have asked them the right shit.
And also, New Line at one point was setting up the Mask to be the new Freddie. So,
anyways, going backwards. Of course, we got the primetime TV girl. Which I don't know. I don't know why, but at the time I was like, that girl has quite the nostrils on her, doesn't she?
oh man,
I don't know.
I'm like, you can smoke in a hospital? What the fuck?
You could smoke anywhere.
I noticed that.
Yeah, but they're kids, underage kids smoking in a freaking hospital.
That medical orderly that was hitting on Taryn, and he was smoking up a storm.
Oh my god, it was so gross.
It's like I had said before, cigarettes used to be used. Actually, smoking used to be encouraged in the psych hospitals.
Well,
hey, when I was growing up,
controlling the patients.
When I was growing up, you could smoke at the mall. I mean, that was just a common thing.
All of us, actually, all
smoking
of us.
or not smoking at restaurants.
Oh my god, my mother, she would be like, before Virginia outlawed smoking, she was like, smoking is actually meanwhile me, I'm over asthmatic. Mama, shut up. Damn it. Girl, why should you eat your dinner? Because I can't breathe.
Well, in any case, as we move forward here, the young kids, well, they start banding together because no one else is listening to them, and they're pretty much fighting for their lives and their livelihoods, and ultimately, it's the Dr. Neil and Nancy who kind of band together with them and fight this well, he is kind of a supernatural serial killer because he is someone who appears in their dreams and kills them in the realities that they are in. So what do y'all think about Freddie as a character in here?
Freddie rocks in this. Like, Freddie is so well done in this movie. He just drips with personality.
Oh, the first time Freddie really shines like his self in the rest of the movies.
Like, he's basically front and center in this one compared to the first two.
Yeah, and he kind of lays the blueprint for how he's going to be in the rest of the series too. Like, he's like loud and in your face, and he's got the jokes. Like, a lot of Freddie's best lines are in this one.
Yeah, welcome to prime time, bitch.
What do you think about what they can do in the dream world? Like
dream powers? That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
They're useless. Yeah, because I think there was like the first time and this, of course, I only watched these two films, but I bet this is the first time that any people that were attacked by Freddie actually fought back. Most of the time I've looked at, they run away, they cower in fear, I'm going to die, and he dies anyways. But these kids are actually trying to fight back. So I think he was kind of taken aback, and then he had to adapt to the new situation.
I don't know why, but
kind of reminds me of the psychic power woman in Friday the 13th.
Oh, that's my favorite one. Freddie got his. Finally, of all these stupid films I had to watch, I finally Jason got his from a little girl. It was fun to watch. Finally.
Well, in any case, when Patricia Arquette did that somersault in the air, that kind of reminded me of like the part in Scrooge where Tiny Tim flipped in the air and did the same darn thing. It was like,
she's Mary Lou Retton.
Right? But in any case, so as they banded together, I guess one of the things that happens during this whole thing is that miniature model of the house that she built in the very beginning with paper mache ended up being the house that Nancy grew up in, and I guess in a sense she was somehow miniaturized and like was somehow inside that house. I thought that was kind of cool. Kind of reminded me. It kind of reminded me of like the Greason stacks from Tales from the Dark Side, just a little bit.
And the house is a recurring kind of thing as well in the series.
Oh yeah. But what do we think about the battle that they finally? I believe that Dr. Neil ends up basically shaking her father when they and basically making him go out with him to what looks like that junkyard. Might have been even the same junkyard used in 13 Ghost remake. But they go and try to find the bones of where Freddy Krueger had been buried all those years ago. What do y'all think about that aspect of the film? I thought it was kind of weird that he would go and grab holy water. What did they think it was going to be, a vampire?
Because it's close to the god, so they're going to have to grab something of God to take care of the Satan. So it's going to be kind of like a natural thing that a guy doesn't know what's going on. He's confused. He got a spirit after him, probably a demon. So let's grab a crucifix. He's going to grab the holy water. I'm surprised.
I mean, in the song they sing, "Grab your crucifix, grab your crucifix."
And I didn't realize that Ray Harryhausen was going to show up in the junkyard. So,
yeah, that's
like Dick Cavett and Joshua Gabor to show up either.
That skeleton effect looked okay, but at the same time, very out of place. It's like
it just reminded me
posited in or something.
Well, like I said, I was amused by it.
Well, and I thought it was weird how like he died and then she died and then it was like it was all kind of a weird concoction of deaths just put together at the end. What do y'all think? Well, they basically, if I am not mistaken, Dr. Neil, he was either knocked unconscious or something like that. And then I guess her father kind of saved the day.
Yeah,
right.
He got impaled on the fin of a like a Cadillac or something.
Right.
And then back at the sanitarium at the hospital, we've got Patricia Arquette showing how much she can be a screen queen. In that rectangular room or whatnot. What do y'all think about the antics that were going on here at this moment?
In the hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Kristen in the isolated in the padded cell. That would suck.
Well, yeah, that's one thing that went on once the tables were turned. That doctor basically made sure she was sedated and put in that padded cell.
Yeah, and Kincaid, they kept sending Kincaid there too.
Well, and basically Nancy went after she thought that her talk with her dad kind of was useless. She went back and just, I guess, since she couldn't talk to Kristen, she talked to the others and got them together to do that whole like hypnosis session. What did y'all think about the hypnosis sessions that went on in this film?
I mean, that was pretty good. That was actually pretty. Those were pretty cool scenes.
That was the way to put everybody to sleep.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's interesting.
Okay. So ultimately, what do y'all think about the special effects?
They're pretty cool. I mean, they're pretty well done. I mean, pretty good again for a movie that didn't have a very big budget.
Right.
They're pretty good. They're pretty impressive, especially like for me, like some of the ones that stand out to me are like when Freddie pops out of the television set, or when he's that giant serpent trying to swallow Kristen whole.
I like that scene just because you could see when she attacks the serpent, and you could see the recognition, like you.
Yeah, when he recognizes Nancy, when he and Nancy recognize each other, that was.
Did we go over the ending of it? About how Freddie meets his end? We didn't even
No, I don't
touch
think
on
we
the
did.
whole
We're still in the third
plot
act.
line.
That's what I was trying to ask about.
Oh, how they have to do like the exorcism and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they do the whole backstory with Freddie, where you've got the ghost that you find out later it's a ghost of the nun who was the mother, basically, that you find out that Freddie was conceived of this nurse that kind of got locked in this room. raped by
his,
100 maniacs, as they say.
Yeah.
And,
I thought it was 1,000 maniacs.
oh,
Bastard
well,
said I'm 100 maniacs. I think.
It's a lot.
There's a lot of maniacs,
It's
yeah.
And,
I guess
yeah.
kind of 100
And-
okay, I guess it is 100
and-
maniacs then.
And the nun
It's
was
like his other unofficial title that they used for Freddie.
and the nun was someone who kept showing up to Neil.
Yeah.
Specifically, I didn't see her showing up to anyone else per se. You know.
and that's where you find out that where they go to the junkyard, because that's where Freddy's bones are buried. And the idea is the only way to defeat him is you've got to take the body and you got to bury it and give it a proper Christian burial or whatnot.
Right.
He's like a ghost from Supernatural, apparently.
Bury it in sanctified ground or whatever. Which I do kind of like the scene where Neil takes Nancy's father's liquor bottle and dumps it all out, and then goes in and just steals holy water right out of the.
There's where the bourbon
then he
went, it got
steals,
dumped out.
and then he steals the cross, and the priest is like, "Hey, what are you doing? I'm sorry.
Here's my driver's license.
Yeah.
And the priest is just like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's
I mean, there was definitely an interesting backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the stop motion effects are used, because you see the bones kind of come to life as Freddie does his best to prevent that whole burial from happening.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they try to decide to do a later used supernatural event, and I assume burn the bones or whatnot.
Bury them.
Bury them.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
apparently not deep enough.
Although the whole burning the bones thing was used in the Nintendo game, which came out a couple years later.
Which obviously was a hit.
In any case,
Mm-hmm.
continuing with the special effects, did we get everything dealing with the special effects, or have we pretty much covered them?
Well, I'm gonna agree with the idea that for what they had, they were effective. I kind of was of the mind that the cheesiness kind of enhanced the film. The cheesiness of some of the effects, like I said, that kind of Harryhausen vibe of the stop motion, the
Oh yeah.
the mirror room sequence, I know, was one that they had
That was
difficulty
cool.
filming, and given what they had to work with, it was impressive at what they ended up with there.
This movie seems
yeah.
to have. This movie feels like it has a much higher budget than the second one did.
Yeah,
Like
the
it
second
feels
one.
more
Mhm.
expensive.
So this
Well,
the second one cost $3 million. This one cost $4 million.
To
really?
be exact, this
It had a lot more set pieces in it.
it
That's
was
surprising.
4,500,000 estimated, and opening weekend for U.S. and Canada ended up being about 8,880,555 on March 1st, in 1987.
That's
This is a series
surprisingly
that
low.
does not. This is a series that traditionally, even since the first film, does everything they can to stretch that budget as far as it goes and make those effects as amazing as they can with what they have. Because even the first one, where they had, I think, the lowest budget of all of them,
Yeah, $1 million even.
a lot of the effects that they do, the practical effects, the things they have, it's amazing what they were able to pull off visually for what they were doing. It really is.
Well, yeah, I have to agree. This film basically set the films in stone and made it had a brand, in following films, they just kind of built off of it. So, let's talk about the music. I know we somewhat talked about it in our pre-show, but what did y'all think of?
We're still doing it. Damn.
It was good.
Dream Warriors.
I mean, it's 80s rock. It's what can you go with? But it
Yeah.
does incorporate more of, I think it's more, whereas the second one really doubled down on the whole rock and roll 80s rock aesthetic that you see a lot in Friday 13th around that time as well. It, this one, I think, incorporated both elements of the past kind of creepy soundtrack with the 80s rock. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
which I think was a pretty nice and amazing combination.
What's interesting is not only did it have a title song by Dokken, there was another song that was on there by Dokken too called "Into the Fire."
And then there was,
Quiet, Cool.
on the VHS release. There was an alternate song on the VHS release. There was an alternate song called "Quiet Cool" by let me just
Jay Ferguson.
Yeah, it was it was Joe Lamont, who also contributed a song to Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Most effective, I thought for the soundtrack, and definitely a rememberable song. So, but in any case, why don't we go with favorite scenes? Let's start with you, Dustin. Tell us what your favorite scene would have been.
Oof, kind of a tough pick. Pretty much every scene with Freddie is great. I think maybe like the big kind of montage of the Dream Warriors like fighting Freddie, where like he faces off against 2, 3 of them like rapid fire and just gets them. Like there's Taryn, there's the wizard, there's the wheelchair kid. Yeah, I think those sequences happen pretty much one right after the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically.
I think I'm gonna mash those. I think I'm gonna mash those two up into my favorite scenes. You know, and you get that really iconic line, "What a rush!" So, actually, when Freddie was in Mortal Kombat 9, his X-ray attack was called "What a rush." So, like, he dashes forward and stabs them right between like the ribs, like into their lungs. It's like a really nasty attack.
Interesting. Alrighty, going over to you, Roger. What was a favorite scene for you?
Well, the one that stuck in my head was the "What a Rush." Freddie pulls out a bunch of syringes on his hands. The girls, the various entry points where she took drugs at, suddenly started wanting it, and he then sticks it with all the needles, and she dies.
Okay, I would have to say the same. I like that one. Maybe it's because the same lines in The Mask, but whatever. Moving on to Kim. Are you still with us? Or no? That's okay. Moving over to you, Brandon. Why don't you tell us what was your favorite scene?
Let's see. Oh, Kim, if you need to join us, you're on mute regardless. But any case, of course, my favorite is always going to be, "Where's the fucking bourbon?" It just
Right.
that whole thing. It just, I don't know why, it cracks me up every time I hear it and see it. It just it's a fun.
Alrighty. What about you, Dane? What was one of your favorite scenes?
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
You know, he improv'd that apparently.
Right.
He would.
That's news. That's new to me.
Yeah. I read that like there's 2 parts to that line, and one of them was the scripted line, and one was his improv, and they just put them together, and it worked. Yeah.
Alrighty. Jake, is there a favorite scene that you can take from this film?
I do love the line, "Where is the bourbon?" I thought that was just really fun. And I'll admit, this one had I guess that might be my favorite, but there were a lot of little parts that were good. Like it was, again, I was very amused by the really bad stop motion animation of those scenes. I was very amused by that. Freddie had a couple other good one-liners, I do want to say real quick, one thing I not thought to bring up before, and I don't know that we really mentioned, like you get a couple of funeral sequences in this, and a couple parts where you get some serious acknowledgement of the passings or whatever. And I felt kind of bad at the end that we go to Nancy's funeral, but you get no acknowledgement whatsoever in movie beyond the actual scenes of her father's death or Taryn or wheelchair dude, whatever his name was. You get no acknowledgement in the movie that, oh wait, they're not, they just, it happens. And it's like, I just felt like they got kind of cheated.
What do you
a
want?
little bit.
Damn.
I don't know. I just kind of felt that. I don't know why. But anyway.
Sorry, guys. I was putting up the food from dinner.
Favorite scene?
Well, I'm sorry, but where's the fucking bourbon?
That's a popular line.
Also, at the very beginning, when Kirsten's making the house, paper mache, and I was like, oh, that seems cool. When I was a kid, I tried to do that same thing, and it didn't work out too well. So, yeah. Those are my two scenes, my two favorite scenes.
I kind of admit the way they kind of lead in with that in the opening credits, it almost makes it look like you're being introduced to the serial killer there. Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah.
What about you, Forrest? What's your favorite scene?
I'm going to have to agree with Dane. Welcome to primetime, bitch. Great line, and great line, great kill, great special effects.
All righty. I think on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are done with our discussion. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. But let us tell you a little bit about ourselves and what we do. So let's start with you, Dane. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I am Dane Kyle, and I'm a filmmaker out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been on a channel called Indie Horror Film Creative, and I haven't been on there in a while. I've been working on a new video series in earnest, and hopefully I'll be able to, I'll be able to get to it, or I'll be able to make it exactly the way I want. So that'll be good. But yeah, I'm just trying to keep busy with that and with filmmaking efforts at the moment. But yeah, I'll be back on YouTube before too long, I imagine.
Okay. Let's go over to Kim. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I am Kim from Kim Create Stuff. I'm the wife of SeptumSin, who's also here. My YouTube channel is Kim Create Stuff. My Instagram is Bugspoon. You can find me for all your nerdy bullet journal artists, like fake artists, as in like I really can't draw, but non-artist kind of shit over on my channel. And that's all for me. I sometimes come over on here.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you for coming on.
When there's a movie or something that interests me, and like tonight, I'm here. So.
Well, thank you for coming back and joining us.
Indeed.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Going over to Dustin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm a horror collector living here in Milwaukee. Just picking up stuff where I find it. I do mostly movies, but collect anything horror related I can get my hands on, really. Like this week, we picked up a crap load of vinyl, and we're working on getting even more. We're trying to find a Nightmare on Elm Street box of Souls for a good price. We got scammed on one on Discogs this past week, which wasn't fun. But my favorite local record shop apparently has had one on hold for an employee for over a year. And so the next time they're on shift, I have to come in and try to talk them into letting me buy it. So that should be exciting. My YouTube channel is The Crypt of Horrors, and that's where I do pickup videos and reviews and pretty much whatever content we can manage. I've been pretty sick most of the year, so I haven't updated for a long time, but we're getting our strength back, and we're going to be filming some stuff pretty soon because I have a really big pile of stuff to show you guys. My Instagram is also The Crypt of Horrors. I post there pretty infrequently, but follow me there anyway if you're listening to this, and I'll start doing more updates. And you can also see me hanging out every day on Twitter at Duracryptaxis.
Alrighty.
That's Duracryptaxis because Dave can't stop coughing.
Sorry. Heading over to Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm SeptumSin, a SeptumSin versus the world. We like physical media where we're at. All about collecting and reviewing and doing all those lovely things that we do about that physical media goodness. But we celebrate the field itself a lot. And in general, we just have a good time. Our big thing right now, we've got two big things exciting coming to our channel. One is sooner than later, and the other one is just kind of ongoing. As far as the sooner than later, tomorrow is going to be our 198th episode, our 198th pickup episode on the channel. We've actually been doing it for 4 years now. It's hard to believe. And so we're celebrating that by on our 200th pickup, and I'm not with luck it's going to happen in 2 weeks, but I want to make sure I have everybody involved that wants to be involved before I fully post that. But I wanted to make really a celebration of collecting and just celebration of physical media in general, just because I want us to just enjoy that and show some of the cool aspects of it. So that's just something to look forward to. But the big thing, and this is something that we kind of share as a group, is we are going to be the very first host of the Versus Awards. Now, our part 3 of our breakdown of all of our award nominees has been posted, so you can check that on our channel now. Next week, we're going to be doing our 4th and final part of our breakdown. And then at the end of next week, voting is due. So all you people in the Academy, take a look at what you've got. Check out that 4th part, and then, hey, get us your votes in by the end of the week. Because at the end of September, we are going to be doing our award show. And that's going to be a big thing, big deal. I'm hoping to get participation from a lot of people, and we're going to do our best to make this an awesome event that most people will remember. Of course, I do work with Inside Movies Galore to help.
I'm feeling great.
What happened?
What was that?
It's to use my microphone, I have to have active mic, and of course the Cortana that I had to deal with.
Oh, for God's sake!
Oh, I was like, what the heck was that going? Then essentially, though, we are continuing our month at the asylum as we go to a lighthearted comedy called Girl Interrupted.
which I will have to miss next
no.
week.
Oh, that's too bad.
You've got filming to do, but the rest of us,
Yeah.
however, will get to enjoy that lovely piece, and I look forward to hearing opinions on it as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Here too, especially since it was my pick. In any case, going over to Forrest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, I'm Forrest Bennett. I'm a film producer based in Long Island, New York. I actually have 2 movies coming out that are coming out this week. Camp Murder, directed by Mark Polonia, which came out just since now August 11th. It came out yesterday. And then I have another one coming out. Got another one coming out Friday called "The Devil's Lettuce," written and directed by Lord Malloy, which is coming out this Friday on Vimeo. I'm also on.
A short film or a feature?
It's a feature film.
Okay.
It's a stoner horror film. And also I'm also on a channel called Evil Greg. Where me and fellow Trauma alumni do dramatic table readings of unproduced scripts and movie as well as roundtable movie discussions like this one. I have my own YouTube channel, Forrest B. Bennett, where I do movie, T-shirt, and comic book pickups. And then if you want to just stalk me on social media, you can find me. I'm on Instagram under My Name Is Not Gump. And that's my full moniker, and Forrest Bennett 16 on Twitter.
Alrighty, going over to you, Jake. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, my name's Jake. I'm a movie fan and collector here in Central Virginia. I'm the co-host of SeptumSin versus the World, and like I said, kind of pulling the throttle back a little bit on the collecting for the time being. I got a business I'm trying to start up, and I'm trying to put my money more towards that. But still have quite a collection. What's that? I missed something. Whatever. I still got plenty of stuff to watch in the meantime. Just a little bit of a backlog. And getting ready for backlog. And getting ready for these movie awards. I mean, I'm actually kind of excited that this week we covered 21 films. Yep. 3 of them I think were shorts. And I had actually seen every one of them, so that's kind of cool. As it stands right now, I think I'm 11 short of the goal of seeing all 84 films that we are covering. I'm very much encouraging our other participants to at least be knocking out a few, because there's some good movies on that list, and it's kind of fun. I'm, of course, absolutely furious at the moment that probably one of the best films of 2020 got apparently a one-night only showing tonight, and I didn't realize it until it was too late. So, hoping that the Shirobako movie, I'm hoping it gets another release. I hope it gets a full release. But anyway,
it's supposed to get a physical, I'm sure.
Oh, it will come out on Sentai eventually, but I wanted to see it in theaters, dang it. But anyway, that's all I have today.
Alrighty, and my name is David Streggy. I am one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore, as well as Delusions of Grandeur. So thank you for coming along with us on this nightmarish journey. It was entertaining, and we definitely have some more in store for you for our August in the Asylum month. So stay tuned for that stuff. But I moonlight under Delusions of Grandeur and do my own reviews and my own pickups. So definitely keep a lookout in the near future because I kind of got quite a couple of bins that I have to go on about. So I'd love to show you what I've got. So in any case, thank you for listening. Have a good time on prime time, bitches, and enjoy.